Welcome to Samu't Sari Conversations with Mimi, a weekly podcast by Social, also a member of the Guerilla Podcast Syndicate. Samu't Sari is where we can show that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Tune in to be entertained and to learn something new with your host, Mimi Guerilla.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Samu't Sari Conversations with Mimi, a podcast featuring hot topics and other topics of interest for women and men alike. I am your host, Mimi Guerilla, and as always, in every episode, we feature guests who share their passion, commitment, and talent for their profession. And as you know, in season 1, we've started with a lot of them women, moms, because we believe that we need to give voices to women, but it's not to say that I don't also interview men. There have been men guests in the show, and obviously we've got people from different spectrums of their careers. So as you know, here in Samu't Sari, we share stories to inspire you, stories from ordinary people who do extraordinary things, and today is no exception. It's like my reunion, like I'm going back to, I thought it was a good way to wrap up the year of Samu't Sari, which is to be in the same room as the founder of the Guerilla Podcast Network himself, Mr. Miko Santos. Miko, bati ka muna sa ating listeners and viewers before I formally tell them more about you.
Ay, maraming salamat Mimi at maraming salamat sa mga nanonood at nakikinig pa rin dito sa Samu't Sari Conversation with Mimi. Hello, finally!
Yes! Parang for people who do not know, you are in South Australia and I am in Victoria, which are two neighboring states in Australia. So mamaya malalaman natin kung bakit na po yung Guerilla Podcast, Guerilla Podcast, yung syndicate natin, ano. Pero doon nga sa hindi nakakaalam, I met Miko in Wellington. Yan. As part of the big close-knit Filipino community. I call it big kasi Wellington is small. So when there are so many Filipinos, lumalaki na tayo big. But we are still a microscope compared to the larger, New Zealand community. And since Australia is maybe 3, 4, 5 times bigger, maybe 10 times bigger than New Zealand, mas mahirap ngayon na magkaroon ng mga networks or circle of friends. So even if Miko has been just there, kapit-bahay lang siya ng Victoria, we have continued to keep in touch and mamaya ito-trace namin kung paano nabuo yung kanyang Guerrilla Podcast Network. But now, just to formally introduce Miko for everybody who are interested to find out more about him, Miko was a former journalist for 20 years with experience in multimedia platforms such as radio, newspaper, and TV. Mamaya, tatanungin ko si Miko ano ba yung mga controversial bits na ginawa niya noon. And he has been a style of life blogger since 2003. So maybe blogging that time isn't as blogging as we know now. So maybe pag-usapan rin natin yan. Miko is also the founder of Kangaroo Fern Media Lab Pty Ltd, a media podcast production company that helps brands move into the audio space with a custom podcast series. Very exciting. And he is also the podcast community creator on a mission to help independent podcasters at every stage of the journey. Kasama ako dyan. Kasi I'm a podcaster with a certain stage in my journey. So Miko has been instrumental in that. And through Miko's podcast management company, he helps brands, early-stage podcasters launch their own show to reach more people, grow their audience, and become an authority in their industry. So, Miko, very niche na yung podcasting space na yan. But let's start with your life prior to New Zealand and prior to Australia. Can you just give us a snapshot? Can you recall your life as a multimedia broadcast journalist, kung masasabi natin gano'n, in the Philippines? What was that life like for you? How are you? Paano ka nagsimula sa pagiging broadcaster mo or journalist mo?
maano yung edad natin. Well,
Mabubuking yung edad. Wala nang mention ng year eh. Basta yung previous life mo.
Yeah, I started in a newspaper in Manila Bulletin. There's a youth and campus bulletin that was in, I think it's 1996. So as a correspondent on youth and campus, because I'm still still in university during that time. And then once I graduated, I moved as a correspondent on Manila Chronicle, the defunct Manila Chronicle. So that was on 1999. So it's all, if you remember, Olympic, si Onyok pa yun eh, yung boxer.
Boxing.
So we're under the special page, or the advertising page of Manila Chronicle. So we write some special project for advertising. So doon nagsimula yung journey ko in the newspaper as a journalist sa Manila Chronicle, then start moving to a different platform from the newspaper to another newspaper, then radio. So starting radio on RMN, which is the DCXL, so as a reporter as well, and then moving to GMA7 as a stringer for Australia and New Zealand. So that's my old let's say life. One of the exciting is that during the EDSA 2 with President Estrada, and also one of my memorable beat was on Department of Foreign Affairs. There's a lot of good memory there. At kasama ko si Malu Talosig, if you know. Yes.
Yes, Malu.
Yeah. So Malu, during that time, she was a reporter of Today newspaper. So during Foreign Affairs beat. So yeah.
So ako naman, nung panahon ng EDSA 2, isa ako sa mga nakikibaka sa kalsada. With my husband. Maliliit pa yung mga babies namin, pero kami, kasi the first EDSA, we were still in school, di ba? You don't really know much about what's going on. You just know that it's happening, but you're not too mature enough to understand why that was happening. At least in EDSA 2, you are more aware. You're more mature. You've grown. In your case, you were there to cover the event. In my case, I was there to, makibaka to fight for the rights of the majority of the Filipinos. Wala ka bang instances when you were still as a journalist na bribe ka or na-threaten ang life mo because of something that you've written, and somebody got annoyed with what you've written and it posed a threat to your personal security?
Not really threatened, but they just warning me. So I think I was writing on it's a small, we call it a tabloid newspaper before. I write on the Philippine Tribune. It's an English newspaper. Then I write like an article about custom smuggling during that time. So medyo meron akong sage, but it's just a warning, and then after that wala naman nangyari. But it's, as a journalist, you know the risk, especially if you are under investigative journalism you're doing. So hindi mawawala yun.
Ako naman, ang mako-consider ko na parallel experience sa akin, I used to handle a radio program with the then governor of Laguna, Joelina. And of course, as a governor, he's surrounded by a lot of security personnel, and busy schedule siya. Sometimes we go with him, parang may behind the scenes coverage kami ng schedule niya. And you can really see from all people na pupunta sa kanya, all walks of life, some people are happy with him, some people are not happy with him. You never know, you're just traveling mabaril kayo. So I know how difficult it is. So when he asked me to become one of his staff members, parang inalok niya ako na umalis na doon sa job ko at mag full-time na tumulong sa kanya. I thought that wasn't the kind of job for me, because I know how difficult it is to work with politicians. But sabi ko nga, it's my previous life, and you wanted to go to the safer route, baga. So from journalism, from being a broadcaster, from being on newspaper, TV, radio, all of a sudden you find yourself moving to New Zealand. Was that a direct next step for your family and for yourself, or nag-stop ka muna sa journalism and then went to another job and then you decided to go to New Zealand?
Actually, during that time, 2005, 2004, I'm still in the radio during that time. Pero ang inisip ko during that time is that I don't want to do everything like this, and the kids is growing up. So I said, I don't want to. So I said, I need to think others. So parang sinabi ko, para sa pamilya ko, para sa kids ko, I need to move on to get a better life for them. So initially, I applied for Canada, but Canada takes almost. I was waiting for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then I tried New Zealand. I'm still waiting for the Canada. New Zealand, it only takes 2 years. So I said, maybe this is the time that I need to move on and get a good life for my kids. So initially, yun talaga yung mission ko is for my kids, not for me.
Yeah,
kasi,
iba lang mindset natin mga magulang.
Kasi I don't want to...
Yeah, continue.
Okay, kasi I don't want to experience nila yun na experience natin in the Philippines, how hard the life is. Because I'm a working student, so I'm writing some article to, actually nag-write pa ako sa magazine like Mirror Weekly, as a feature writer while studying. So it's hard. So I don't want to, basta gusto ko hindi sila ma-experience yung ginawa ko. Yeah.
So ikaw para isa sa mga Filipino na typical Filipino na in order to make ends meet para hindi ka masyadong umaasa sa parents mo, or especially kung may pamilya ka na at that time, you have to be a working student, in whatever shape or form. In your case, communication talaga ang field mo, so you still did that. So I think for millennials who are probably listening to us, it's still a good thing to do. Don't think that money just comes from trees and it will come to you with the words of manifest. Manifest na lang yan. You really have to work hard for it. So Miko, na nag-move ka pa sa New Zealand, were you still in the communication space? Are you a radio person in New Zealand? Did you write for a newspaper? What was life like in New Zealand for you?
No, that's different profession ako sa New Zealand. So I was working on the hospitality on the New Zealand, but I'm still a correspondent to GMA7 during that time in New Zealand. So one of the craziest na experience ko that when I was a stringer on GMA7, they sent me to the Christchurch earthquake, which is the second earthquake, February 22. So sa atin, it's normal kasi alam na natin earthquake. But when I went there, it's so devastating talaga. So and I have a lot of pictures. Even a Filipino, I interviewed a Filipino nurse during that time, the ACT building. Yon. So yan yung one of my experience as a stringer sa GMA7 with the earthquake. So the February 22 Christchurch earthquake. Yeah.
Wow. So you were in the thick of the action. So maybe another lesson there is, how do you distance yourself emotionally from the devastation that you've seen, di ba? Tapos mga tao na ini-interview mo, should I even interview them na nasa kalagitnaan na sila ng personal pagdadalamhati? But you need to be there to report the news and to say it as it is. So how was that experience for you, Miko?
For me kasi parang it's normal for us kasi we're doing that in the Philippines. The only difference that it's a different set of situation, it's different setting. So it's hard kasi some of the the good thing is the Filipino community in Christchurch is very strong. So when I ask to interview someone or research someone, they're ready to help. Na we know someone here, and they even accompany me to go to the place. So it's easy talaga. It's strong in Filipino community during that time. But the devastating is very unimaginable. But now, okay na ngayon. Maganda na uli. So yeah.
So at least nakabangon talaga sila. They were able to rebuild and start new. Oh, so tinatrace naman natin, Philippines, New Zealand. Oh, how come naman? Okay na pala yung buhay mo. Oh, you feel happy, you feel that your family has, progressed. Lumaki na rin sa New Zealand yung mga kids mo. What made your family decide to move to Australia?
Actually, it's just a joke.
It was a joke.
Kasi I got an offer from a company in Australia. Sa Darwin pa yon, that kailangan nila ng it's still on the hotel industry, that they need people to manage the an hotel in Darwin. Okay, I said okay, I'll try. I'm gonna try to do it. And then after 6 months, maybe I go back again sa Wellington. Pero nag-enjoy ako because of the company and everything, kasi na-enjoy yun. Tuloy-tuloyan na to migrate from New Zealand to Australia because of that. But the thing is, yung wife ko kasi doesn't want to go to another country again.
Okay,
Kasi
because of the
moving and new set of friends again.
That's right.
And she got a good job in Wellington, but nag-compromise ako. Kasi sabi niya, if I move to Adelaide, she gonna move as well.
Oh, so she has a preference to Adelaide over Darwin. Anong ayaw mo sa Darwin?
Masyadong mainit, it's too hot daw. Yeah, yon, parang different talaga yung temperature.
But
so okay.
South Australia is also mainit. I thought that was the case kasi malapit na kayo sa dagat.
Mainit siya kung summer, pero kung di summer, hindi naman. But Darwin is always hot.
Yeah, it's even is it as hot as the Philippines or hotter than the Philippines? Hotter in the Philippines, Miko?
Hotter in the Philippines. Hotter in the Darwin because of the humidity. Iba yung klase ng humidity ng Darwin compared to the Philippines. So sa Philippines kaya natin yung init but Darwin has a different set of humidity. Yun.
Wow, how exciting naman your journey. So nag-compromise na kayo ni wife mo and obviously the families here. So I guess siguro you had to find another job from the one that you had in Darwin. Paano naman napasok ang podcasting sa buhay mo, Miko? What made you decide to go into this? Why not create your own radio station, for example? Why not create your own newspaper? Why not become employed in a local South Australian firm or media outfit? What made you do this podcast? Is it your full-time job now, or is it on top of your other job that you're doing?
Because podcasting, ever since I was sa Philippines, nag-listen na talaga ako ng podcasting from Leo Porte to Dave Jackson 2003. So talagang nag-listen ako ng podcasting in early days, but kasi nga sa Pinas, we don't have enough money to do the hosting, and the internet is dial-up pa during that time. So .com area. So that's why I'm doing blogging. So blogging is like hosting pa ako sa GeoCity noon yung old. There's a Netscape before. Now the browser is no more Netscape. Yun, ganon. But I'm still listening talaga sa podcasting. So then eventually, because podcasting is like a multimedia as well, because it's communication. So I said, since it is parang same na lang, different format, and I see what's happening on the podcasting. So yun, so five years ago, then I start building the podcast network and management.
So Miko, you were a blogger since 2003. Are there any changes to the way people are blogging now? Or is it the same as vlogging now? Or how has that evolved over the years? Kasi early days, nandun ka na sa space na yon. So I'm just curious to know if you've seen any changes or any developments or hindi pa nagbago. What's your comment on that?
Blogging is still the same, but there's a different what we say is that kasi before yung blogging is kasi yung technology ng vlogging before, it's talagang self-taught ka eh. You have to write, you have to taught yourself how to do the photo image because wala pang YouTube during that time eh.
Right.
So you need, and no social media. So which means if you want to promote your blogging, then you need to word of mouth. But now there's a lot of social media. There's a Facebook, so it's easy na to do that. So ang blogging ngayon for me is that you tend to do a different, paano mo i-promote yung blogging mo on sa society, kasi before talagang limited ka lang eh. So may Friendster pa noon. If Friendster doesn't do the blogging din eh. Yun. Tsaka different kasi doon yung mga PR agency, they send you an email or send you a mail if you want to invite. But ngayon, it's easy. Just a Facebook or call you about there's an event. Yun.
Yeah.
Yun ang different.
Yeah. So
but the platform is still the same.
Right. Okay. Pero na-trace mo lang talaga over time na ganito pala yung mga changes, which is nice kasi kumbaga early adopter ka. You were one of those who delved into this space early on. So, Miko, mapunta naman tayo being the founder of Kangaroo Fern Media Lab Pty Ltd. Doon sa mga first time na nakakarinig niyan, what do you mean by media production podcast company? Is that a thing? Kasi most businesses are probably still struggling how to put themselves on social media or Facebook. But you are now moving into this space where you're telling that brands can use the audio space for a podcast series. How can they leverage on that? Can you explain that a little bit more to our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, sure. So yung yung podcast management, so which means it's good for the brand, for the business, kasi podcasting. So what we do is we manage. If you want to have a podcast, because podcast is it's easy to use because it's audio. Unlike for video, you need to watch on a phone or on a desktop, a TV. So sa podcasting, anyone can listen it, even you're cleaning. So you can put your headphone, you can clean that. So the company I have is we create, conceptualize your show, and then produce it for you. So if you need, and manage for you and help you grow your podcast. Kasi nga most of the business, kasi why podcasting is important to you for the business, why podcasting can benefit to your business. So because business use podcasting for a variety of purpose, so including sharing the information about new product, yung company information, or general information related to the industry. So the good thing with the podcast is that you give your being authority, so authoritative sa presence mo. So which means say podcasting provide a format for sharing your expertise in your industry. So which means the audio file allow you to inject your expertise mo. So magiging expert ka sa isang niche na yon, na because of that, podcasts help you build up trust sa iyo as an authority.
Sa audience mo, sa mga customers mo, sa mga clients mo. So Miko, does this mean that your team is a team of experts in their own field? For example, I can imagine you have a person who is doing the technical audio engineering side of it, for example, the editing. And of course, because you say that your company helps them, promote and become an authority, meron ka rin siguro mga strategists sa team mo. Can you explain to me, sino-sino ba yung mga people that work with Kangaroo Fern to make it happen for the brands or for your clients?
Okay, so the team of Kangaroo Fern is composed of the first one is the podcast manager. So podcast manager is the one who manage the post-production. So under podcast manager, There is a podcast editor, a show note writer who is, say, doing the description of the podcast. So podcast editor, show note writer. We also have a social media manager as well, which is he's doing the social input. We have a podcast guest booking specialist. So it means siya yung nagma-manage ng booking for the client. So we give the client the guest, and then the booking specialist the one who gonna try to email the guest, book the appointment for the guest for the interview. So yun yung ginagawa ng guest booking specialist. And then there also a podcast producer, podcast manager, the same lang yon. But sometimes we need a podcast producer who is dealing kung script yung podcast. So he do the scripting of the podcast. Kasi mostly for branding podcast, we do a script podcast to do that.
Yep.
So you pick a topic and the writer will do the podcast script for that. And then there is a podcast marketing strategist. So mostly ganun yung
So
team.
malaki-laki rin naman yung team. But in terms of your brands or the clients that you work with, sa anong industry dapat ba sila para maging suitable sila to do podcasting? Can it be like a restaurant business or dapat ba mga professional consultant sila? Sino-sino ba yung mga brands na yan? Mga client base mo?
So it can be a coach, can be an author, can be even the restaurant as well. They can do that. So anything that is like product based, even the real estate agent can do that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because what happened is that you can do a podcast for real estate investors. So every week, this is what's happening on real estate trending. So is this good a property? What is the property? How you get your so mostly marami siya.
Okay, so hindi pala lang siya limited because probably people will say, oh, I cannot do podcasting because I'm not sure about whether my industry would fit. So I think the best solution is for them to get in touch with you to know whether they can work with you to promote their brand. I think that's what your company is there for, to really help them fly sa businesses nila. Miko, punta naman tayo sa podcast community. How is this different from Kangaroo Fern? What is this podcast community naman? Pod Fiesta.
Okay. So before the community, meron akong isang i-inject dun sa sinasabi mo kung sino yung
the brand
sa business,
the
brand side. So basta anyone who's listening or watching this, if you're thinking of building or getting your own podcast, kailangan alam nyo what is the 3M. So 3M, that is your message, market, and media. So when you say message, ibig sabihin is that get the right information on the pain point of your audience, your avatar. What is the problem? How would you know? You need to understand the problem. And then once you understand the problem, that is, give the message to them. This is my solution to you. And the second one is the market. It means you have to be niche down. So what is your market? Say your market is, say, education. So you focus on education, say English, for example, English education. So focus on the market on English education. So ano yung market mo? So say Korea want to learn English. So that's your market. So what is the pain point of that avatar? Doesn't know how to speak English. So that's your message, your market. And the third one is the media. So when you say media, is that saan mo sila makikita? What platform? Ano mo yung message mo? Is there either LinkedIn, Twitter, or a podcast? So, or YouTube. So if you're planning to build a business like this, you need to know the 3M first. Importantly is the avatar, the customer avatar. Yun lang.
Palagay ko, yan ang first question na tatanong mo pag may business na makikiconnect sa'yo. Kasi that's how your team will help them fine-tune their messaging and everything. So how exciting is that? So thank you for that additional information. Dami ko na natututunan. So 3M is another one of my key takeaways now. Ang first key takeaway ko yung sinasabi mo na yung determination, yung panahon na naglilingkod ka, na journalist ka, na talagang you have to do everything in different ways that you can in order to fulfill your mission and communication. So going back, what is this Fiesta community, Miko? Is this an elite group of podcasters? Mahirap pa makapasok dyan? Or is this your audience base?
So, Fiesta community kasi nag-start yan last April this year when I launched a virtual summit, which is have 30 speaker, international speaker about kasi early stage podcaster. Kasi kasi may mga friend ako doesn't know, they want to do a podcast, they want to launch a podcast, but they don't know how to do it, or they don't know what to do. So ang Fiesta is because of that, is for early stage podcaster to learn the podcasting and to learn and educate them the right way. So this is a community, it's a free community to everyone to come up each other or learn to each other. So kung ano yung alam mo, pwede mong i-share sa iba, at least magtulungan. So it's yung Fiesta is like a passion project ng Kangaroo firm to pay it forward to the podcasting industry.
Wow, so, how nice. Yeah. So ilan ang mga members ng Fiesta community? Lahat halos ng umata ng virtual conference.
Yeah, so almost 300 plus, but everyone is invited, especially may ila-launch kaming new project. It's a Podcast 101. So it's a 10 video showcase to how to start the podcast. It's a free course, by the way, and it will be teach by different podcasting expert. So
okay. How interesting. Parang follow up yan yung summit. Parang ano tawag na, extension siya or further learning to people na miss out yung first time. Okay, so let us know, Miko, when that is. I can probably help promote that also to my audience base. Finally naman, the Guerilla Podcast Syndicate. Tell us more about it. Paano ba nabuo ito? At ito na ba yung elite members mo, Miko? Ito na ba yung mga tribe mo?
This one is because the reason is kasi some of the podcast network are very strict on requirement. If you want to go to a podcast network, you have to have 10,000 download. You have to have big follower. So that's the reason why I built the Guerilla Podcast. That's why it's Guerilla, because it's a small, but it's a fighting people, So yung Guerilla Podcast is for early stage podcaster na not able to go to a bigger network. So on the Guerilla Podcast, everyone is welcome, and then we can also teach you by the Fiesta community, and then we can also market you, how to help you as well. So yun yung nagsimula ng Guerilla Podcast kasi bakit kasi kailangan natin ng this high requirement just to belong to a network. But that's the main reason of Guerilla Podcast Syndicate. So I said nga, no small podcaster, and we're stronger together.
Yeah. So yung Guerilla Podcast Syndicate, I know that you have its own website, diba? So that's one way of promoting the content. Saan pa ba nila mapapakinggan ang mga podcasts ng Guerilla Podcast Syndicate?
So all the podcasting platforms. So it's the 30 plus platform. So they can listen to that. So even Ghana and India, you can, if you are in Ghana, you can Ghana platform. Guerilla Podcast is also there. So mostly all the podcasting platform.
And sino ba mga member nito? Mga Filipinos lang ba? Or anybody na talagang interested pwedeng maging member?
So anybody can be a member. Even my client. So some of my clients also under the network as well.
Okay.
So
they don't have to be in Australia. They can be anywhere.
No.
As long as they link up with you and sign up and sign out the terms and conditions of the syndicate. Now,
as long there's the same value.
Yeah, as long as you share the same
mission.
value. Yeah, so ayan ang gusto ko kay Miko, very unfair. You're not only thinking about yourself, but you're also thinking about others. Meron ka pang paying forward na to the Fiesta community. Miko, ilang years na ba talaga if you will consider yourself in the podcasting industry? Is it more than 5 years now? Starting with the Kangaroo Fern Company and the Pod Fiesta and the Guerilla Podcast Syndicate?
So I think it's almost 5 years now.
Almost 5 years. And where do you see your profession, your company, your network moving forward in the next 2 to 3 years?
For the Guerilla has, I think, helping more early stage podcaster. Na podcasting is a good thing. It's a good, because gusto kasi everyone has something to say that can impact to our community. So especially if you're the one who is making an impact to the community and help the community, just let me know and then we're happy to help, because we are now going to a social enterprise moving forward. It's not all about money, it's about helping one another and pay it forward. Pati ba naman sa concept na social enterprise, you're still thinking about the better and the bigger good of majority of the people. So that's really something lovely to look forward to. So Miko, as in any of your podcast shows, I want, as much as I want to continue chatting with you, I have to formally end the show. So what is your message to people there? I know you keep saying as long as you have a message, keep doing it. But how do you encourage other people to follow their dreams like what you've done, and to consider podcasting as something that they can do? One thing I'm just gonna say, just start. Just start, and then you will figure it out. So, because a lot of people saying, I'm too shy on the camera. My voice is not good. You have to start somewhere else. You have to start to know it. Because if you didn't start, because you don't know that by starting and you're doing your podcast, you don't know somewhere on the other side is listening and helping because of your podcast. So if you have an idea, go for it. So if someone bash you, praise them.
Tuloy lang, yeah.
Tuloy lang. So because you don't know, somewhere over the rainbow, someone is listening and you're helping them. So it's not about your voice, not about the equipment, because I need this equipment. When I first starting podcasting, I only use my phone. That's it. You don't need a fancy gadget. The important is the storytelling, the message that you're gonna give it to your audience.
Wow, very, very well said, Miko. I'm very happy that you are so open and so generous, not only with your time today here at Samu't Sari, but also your wealth and your wisdom to help other people be encouraged. Sabi mo nga, as long as you have a message and it's a good message to help other people, why are you going to keep it to yourself? You have to share it, and the more you share, the more it gives a ripple effect to others, and babalik din sa iyo yon in ways that you may be surprised. So thank you, Miko, for being with us today. For our audience, for our listeners, if you have any stories or topics that you wish for me to take up or tackle in the show, please just let me know through my email address, which you can find in the description below. Samu't Sari is a member of the Guerilla Podcast Syndicate, a proud member. I keep saying that all the time. Reach out to us through the Guerilla Podcast socials, and you can contact Miko. And don't forget to also like, share, and subscribe to my shows as well. Samu't Sari Conversations with Mimi. Thank you, Miko, so much. And
Thank you.
It's been nice working with Guerilla Podcast Syndicate. Forever grateful, forever thankful. And hopefully in the future, we have another part 2, maybe part 3, when you promote your new offerings or anything new about podcasting. Thank you very much, Miko. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
If you find value in this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of new releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, please reach out to Guerilla Podcast or send us an email at mimi@dinosocial.com. Spread the word and don't forget to tune in next time.